Welcome back, guys. It's your boy Donald Wonder, and it's time for some movie talk. You know what? You can already see what's in the title, so you know what we're going to talk about. Quickly before that, at the time of this recording, Spider-Man: Homecoming just came out. I mean, I'm not going to review the movie because I mostly agree with everyone else. It was a crowd-pleasing movie, a lot of fun. I felt like an old man watching it because Peter Parker was so young. But let's put that to the side because while I was at the cinema, I saw another movie I forgot to check out because it's been getting somewhat negative reviews, and I don't know. I thought maybe there was too much feedback from the artists and die-hard fans, and I'm a little bit more casual. So today I want to talk about the Tupac movie, the Tupac biopic Hollywood movie, All Eyez on Me, which I just finished seeing. This one, man, this movie. So guys, there's gonna be light spoilers in the movie, but this is based on Tupac's real life, so most of you guys know what happened to him. By the end of the film, he dies, so spoiler, guys, I'm sorry. This movie, man, it's been getting such bad critical feedback, and a lot of the fans were saying it's a disappointment. A lot of the people that knew Pac, his celebrities and colleagues as other rap stars, are saying a lot of it is made up, not factual. So man, I was with this movie. I was watching the movie, and 75% of the way through, I thought to myself, yeah, it's not as raw as I thought it would be, but it's Hollywood. They always dilute the movies. It's a hip hop movie. There's a lot of negativity with, sex, violence, and, Tupac's life is very, very, intense. So I knew they were going to tone it down. None of that surprised me. None of that bothered me. And all through I was watching this movie, I thought to myself, people need to realize that we're not going to get a true Tupac movie right now. Just like with Biggie, same kind of thing. I think the kind of intensity and realness we want, we're too close to it. Generational wise, we need to be probably about 10 or 15 years removed from it before the family's not involved, before people can actually just tell the story raw and not worry about people involved and all this money stuff, because this movie had a lot of baggage behind it. They were fighting over rights for the movie. I mean, John Singleton, who was someone who'd worked with Tupac before with other movies, he wanted to write the movie. The family didn't really support the movie in the end because they didn't like a lot of stuff behind it. And again, after the movie came out, people do not feel it's very accurate and even somewhat disrespectful. And sadly, man, now that I've seen the whole movie, I have to kind of agree that right at the end, the last 25%, this movie really dropped the ball and it just became too much movie magic. And let me tell you something, guys. Like I said, I'm not a die-hard Tupac fan. To be honest with you, when I was growing up, when Tupac was around, I was more on the East Coast music side of things. I was listening to more Yes of Bad Boy, Biggie Smalls, and there was this whole kind of, you either enjoy Biggie or Tupac because one's real, one's fake, one's superficial, one's real. And I got into Tupac literally his last year of life is when I really started to like his music. And then after he passed, like most people, I jumped on the bandwagon and I really got into him. So I do know Tupac. And actually, there was a documentary of Tupac released in the early 2000s. I think it's called Tupac Resurrection or something. That's a very good, honest documentary about Tupac. Look, man, the movie, again, is tame. If you look at the Rotten Tomato scores and the reviews, a lot of people are saying that the movie is just too tame. It's very by the numbers. It just feels very like superficial. And watching the movie, I did feel like this isn't the intensity that I really expected. And if you listen to Pac's music and his voice and his interviews, you can tell that the movie is kind of tame. And honestly, if you don't even know Tupac as a person, you might watch his movie and think, this is tame? He's kind of buck wild. If you listen to his music and you know him, you know that this is like 50% Pac and 50% of the intensity of the energy of what really happened. To be honest with you, even as just a fan, just hearing all the shit that was going on and seeing the interviews, it seemed kind of fucking wild. And when you see the movie, it definitely feels like you're watching a Hollywood movie, and it didn't bother me up until the point where Tupac joined Death Row Records. Before that, it was a fairly entertaining biopic, regardless of it being tame. I thought it hit all the major points. It gave you all the information. The acting was great. I thought that the actors were fantastic. The guy who played Tupac was really, really good. Tupac's mom, who's obviously Michonne from Walking Dead, she was fantastic. I'll put their pictures on the screen as well. They were great. The cast on the whole were good. There was nothing wrong with the cast. The directing was adequate. It felt more like just a little nudge above television movie-ish, but it didn't feel like a Lifetime movie like them Aaliyah, like, you know, the Aaliyah and other movies, those Lifetime black movies that have come out that are really not good. Man, the movie did a couple things that bothered me the most. It took its Hollywood tone down to the extreme in the last 25 minutes, and it was a couple things. Now, when Jada Pinkett came out and said that there's a couple of scenes of her in the movie, she said those scenes never happened at all. Now, the problem with that is those scenes are the scenes that make the movie very tame and very Hollywood, where Tupac's, oh Jada, you're my best friend, all that stuff. It feels kind of hammy, and the fact she said it's completely made up does make the film like, that doesn't help the film at all. But again, I was like, you know, they're always gonna fabricate or make it very story driven. They'll change the narrative to make it more movie like. So that irritated me a little bit, but it didn't bother me. What bothered me was near the end, when Pac and the Tupac and the Death Row Records thing was coming to the end, and it was coming close to his death. I mean, they had a love plot element with one of Quincy Jones's daughters that Tupac was seeing, and that seemed very movie-like and romantic, overly romantic, and they were trying to paint this picture of Tupac more like an angel that was he was predicting his own death, and you know, it felt very forced. And the thing that really bothered me and was like, man, this is some bullshit, man, was at the very end, in the last 10 minutes, and I'm gonna have to spoil this part, man. He was with Quincy Jones' daughter, his love interest, and they were in the beds. Like, I have to go to this last show. Don't go, Tupac. Don't go. I'll just be 1 hour. I'll just be 1 hour, baby. And he walks out the room and he looks at the door. He's like, and she's leaning on the door like, don't go, Pac. And he's like, I shouldn't go, but I must defend my friend. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is some bullshit. This shit is the most fake ass romance bullshit that really betrays the movie. And then that was bad enough. That was really bad. That was like embarrassingly shame on you bad. But then, to be honest with you, the thing that I just found kind of distasteful was the murder scene, where just through the whole shooting scene, they're playing this choir music, and it's very hammy. It's so corny, and I'm sorry, man. It's the pivotal moment. I didn't even want to watch him getting shot, but when he's getting shot, they turn up that gospel music to high, like he's ascending to heaven. He's looking. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I mean, Notorious is a movie. No, let me tell you something. Biggie Smalls' movie, Notorious, is very similar to this movie. And again, it's not very intense. It's very kind of superficial. But they didn't really go down this super... Tupac's life is more interesting than Biggie Smalls' life. I'll just put it out there. Even though I was more of a fan of Biggie Smalls. But honestly, they didn't play up certain elements of Biggie's life like they did play up for Tupac. And I think they did that on purposefully because they wanted to massage the narrative and make it more Hollywood. And honestly, I just found it disrespectful and I found it fake as fuck. And it's just obvious. It really is. Especially at those two scenes at the end with his girlfriend where he's about to leave, and the scene where they turn up the music and it's just his shooting. It's like, man, the 75% of the movie before that, before he joined Death Row, it was adequate. I thought, look, this ain't great, but it's decent. I would still recommend the movie. But the last 25%, it really turned into a Goodfellas movie with a bad end, very romanticized. And then when you add to that, all the artists, other people saying it didn't happen like that, this movie. And I'm like, hey man, I was just there with you guys. Now, I wasn't with you guys. I was watching it very casual, like, hey guys, it's the best we're gonna get. But that ending was like, man, you guys, you really had to fucking really Hollywood this movie to the extreme. Just to, So at the end of the day, it's still watchable. And honestly, for the 75% they got right, I would still recommend it. Last 25%, it might not even bother a lot of people. I just think it was toned down before, and then that last 25% with Death Row, it really just kind of just forced its Hollywood hand and made it more into a movie than a biopic. I didn't appreciate that. And if you were around when and you were watching the interviews at the time and you were hearing people, you were seeing all the stuff with Tupac, there's so much real life photos and interviews you can see. It feels a lot more real than this movie. And movies are meant to be fake. They're meant to be, you know, they're meant to massage a narrative and make it more of a narratively movie experience. But this one really just, at the end of the day, I was like, man, you really kind of fucked this up. You made a very passable movie that isn't realistic but enjoyable, to at the end this is some fake. This is kind of fake at the end, which really disappoints me because the actors are good, the cinematography is good enough, the actors are really good. Now, saying all that, would I still recommend watching the movie? I actually still would, because I still think it's really good for this generation to know Tupac, and I think it doesn't bend the truth, it just bends the narrative. I mean, they copy all the interviews, they copy all the music videos, all of that's there. The guy who's playing Pac is very decent. So again, this is like a really good, and this is probably going to be the biggest backhanded compliment I can give this. This is like a really good Lifetime movie of Tupac. And the Lifetime movies have been really bad. I mean, if you've seen the Whitney Houston movie and the Aaliyah movie, those are fucking terrible. This is definitely 3 notches above that, but they dropped the ball on this, and you know, there can still be a better Pac movie. And you know, a lot of, just reading the reviews, people just said, people were much more critical than me on this. I would see myself as a casual, but after this, I'm like, yeah, we need another one, because we can do this. We can do this some real, honest, gritty, but we need to be a bit far removed from it. Same thing for Biggie. Same thing for the Biggie movie. Could have been better. This one could have been a bit more better. The Biggie one was like, it's good enough. This one was like, you guys dropped the ball. So that's kind of my final word on it. Lastly, I do want to say that apparently the Shakur family didn't support this movie in the end, even though I believe they are getting royalties for it. They didn't really support it, and they're supporting another Tupac documentary that's going to be made by Steve McQueen, who is the writer of 12 Years a Slave. Hey, look, man, documentaries are fine. I actually thought the other documentary I mentioned, I forgot what it's called. I put it on screen before. I thought that was good. So I don't need to see another Tupac documentary. Honestly, there's enough interviews. There's enough things about him. I actually want to see a narrative Hollywood version of Tupac done a lot better. You know, I want to see him in the screen, and the actor, it's great. But again, let's just wait and see. Honestly, I'm shitting on the movie. If you're not a diehard Tupac fan, check out the movie. If you don't really care, it's still watchable. As a rating, I'd give it a low. Okay, I'll give it a high watchable. Again, I wasn't offended by the movie. It just really showed its fake cards right at the end. But the first 75% is good. I'm just repeating myself. So anyway, guys, if you've seen the movie, if you're gonna see it, it's still in the cinema at the time of this recording, and man, the marketing was mad. I saw posters everywhere for the movie because, again, it's the first Tupac biopic. I don't think it'll be the last, but let me know what you think if you've seen it. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. And that's going to be it, guys. Thanks for watching the channel. Thanks for watching the video. Give us a thumbs up. Again, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Take care. Peace out.